Hi, I'm Phil from Driftworks. This is my 997.2 GT3 and today we're going to fit a Kline Innovation Inconel exhaust. So you'll notice that most of these are used parts, with the exception of the manifolds here, which are brand new, which I've just received from Kline, and they're lovely. The rest of the parts are used, and that's because they're off my 991 GT3. So I learned something. 991 GT3 and 997 GT3 share the same centre and side boxes, which was very convenient because when I sold my 991 GT3, I kept the Kline Innovation system. So all I've had to do is buy the correct manifolds, which are the only unique part as far as I'm aware, and I should be able to get this installed on my GT3. So there's not going to be any before and after. There will be an after recording of the noise and everything I'll show you. I'll explain why there won't be a before in a minute. But these things are not exactly quiet to start off with. They're a pretty decent sounding car. The tips are a little bit weedy. But yeah, it sounds pretty decent. And actually, one thing that I did quite recently to the car, which made a really nice difference to the sound. Wait a second. I want to smash my door into the ramp. So I fitted K&N induction kit onto this, which is a really nice bit of kit. Relatively simple to fit. And it's not absolutely perfect in my eyes, but for a kit that you receive, it's pretty damn comprehensive. The only thing that I can be critical about is the sealing against the back here. There could be some improved sealing against the body of the car in there. So a little bit of hot air could potentially be getting from the engine in through the back here and into the filter, but the vast majority of it, the airflow would come from that up there anyway. So yeah, that seals really nicely, and that comes up through that vent there. So yeah, it actually gets quite a nice amount of cold air. But this made the car sound absolutely awesome. Induction is obviously everything compared to exhaust most of the time, and getting a good balance of exhaust noise to induction noise is, you know, pretty high on my list most of the times with most of my cars. I don't want anything horrific loud. It's very popular to straight pipe these and sort of do a center section delete and all sorts, especially in America. But for me, yeah, it just sounds horrific. It doesn't sound good at all. The noise of the Kline system on my 991 GT3 was, to me, optimal. It was absolutely perfect, sounded superb, was loud, don't get me wrong, but without being deafening, it still sounded properly racy. Right, sorry, new battery in the camera. Try again. So yeah, it's a valved system still, which is really cool. So you can have a quiety mode. The Kline manifolds come with 200 cell cats. Have a look in there. And those are, is it HTG? They're a known brand, aftermarket brand, which I think a lot of high-end exhaust manufacturers use. But yeah, it's a really nicely made bit of kit, this. So, on to why I'm not going to start this up, so you get a before and after. So this car has actually been on the ramp for I think 7 days now, something like that, because My friend Ben from String Theory Garage mentioned that the bolts that hold the manifold to the cylinder heads are prone to snapping, and he has had many a torturous time having to drill out and stud extract these bolts. So, as a result of that, he does his own titanium stud kit, which is really cool. And yeah, if you're interested in one of these, get in touch with Ben from String Theory and he shall hook you up. But yeah, I had the forethought to soak these. Well, what I did first was put the car on the ramp like hot, dead hot, and I started giving these a little wiggle, not going absolutely mental on them, but just seeing whether I could get like a fraction of a turn, crack, like undo, and then do it back up a little bit, and then undo again. Being very patient with it, I actually got every single one of them freed off, so very, very happy about that. What I'm not so happy about, and why this has taken so long, is the lambda sensors. These, again, I sort of prepared myself, did it when they were hot, also ended up using a blowtorch to heat up the bosses. Many hours fighting these lambda sensors, and I've got, you know, a turn or, you know, a fraction of a turn on all four of them in situ, but basically you can feel that they are pulling the thread basically. They've locked out super tight now, and it doesn't matter what I do we've got an induction tool as well, so we've tried induction heating, tried expansion, contraction, with heating and cooling. I've been super patient with all four lambda sensors, and they're staying there basically. They are not coming out. If they do come out, they'll be coming out with the boss with them and half the thread, so I really don't want to do that. So unfortunately I had to go to Porsche and get 4 new lambda sensors, which, as I'm sure you're probably aware, is mighty cheap. I think the 4 sensors were £1,000, which is horrific. But this is a car that's done, I think it's about 30,000 miles. I can't remember, I've got too many bloody cars. I think it's about 30,000 miles. I did a lot of work on track with it. The guy that I sold it to before I bought it back also did some track work with it. So, you know, it's just one of those things that Porsches are known for. Craig's had massive issues with 996s and 997 turbos and all sorts with them, so yeah. I've also been dousing stuff, so it's not leaking anything. I've been trying to put release oil over lots of bits and pieces because, you know, it's semi-crusty here. But yeah, I guess I should stop waffling and actually get on with removing this and fitting the new one. I think I've got to take the bumper off, which is a bit sad. I think it can be done by trying to squeeze it out from behind, but it's just probably better to take the bumper off. And you'll have to forgive me if I look like a novice doing this because I've never done it before. Believe it or not, I never had an exhaust on the car when I owned it 6-7 years ago. So this is a first for me. I'm just hoping that it's largely similar to the 991 GT3 because I did obviously take that apart. Can't see it being massively different. Fingers crossed. Back bumper off. Let's have a quick look at fixing this number plate light. Kind of snapped a little bracket there, but yeah, I'll probably glue something up now and then get on to taking all this apart. So after the manifold bolts, these were my next concern. They looked massively corroded, and yeah, it's just stripped out the Torx on the inside there, so you're gonna have to get a little creative. Hoping to be able to split this now and be able to take the centre out, then the side boxes, and then onto the manifolds. Fingers crossed. Right, I've skipped ahead a bit because it's going to be a bloody long video if I show you everything, but yeah, just got the lambda cables pulled down through to the bottom. That's a bit of a faffy job in itself because there's loads of nice little clips where it's clipped up against heat shields, and it's routed really weirdly into the engine bay, and they basically have two connectors. So there's 4 lambdas to each side, and they sit inside the engine bay. So yeah, that's just taken a bit of time to do. I've also just dropped the vacuum off the standard valves for the exhaust as well. There we go, that's all removed. Loads of nice heavy stuff. It's been on there for 10 years, I reckon. Seeing as this car is 10 years old, I don't reckon they've been off. Yeah, so I'm just going to have a quick clean up before I start putting the new stuff on. Lots of carbon deposits in the cylinder heads there, in the exhaust outlets. So I'm going to have a quick clean up and then start assembling the new stuff. Okay, I've spent 10-15 minutes just brushing that off. It's just oxidation on the aluminium parts mostly, but it's always going to be the case for a car that's actually used, especially a rear-engined one, because this is basically open to the elements, as all Porsches are really, to let the heat out. What I use is this ACF 50, and you can get it in cans or a big bottle that you can put in this distributor, and it's basically a protective lubricant that's used on aeroplanes. So if it's good enough for an aeroplane, I'm pretty sure it's good enough for a GT3. Quick change of spray bottle, as that one was shite. Okay, jobbed. I'm going to let that drip dry overnight and then come back and just get rid of any excess in the morning. Obviously I need to make sure that I've cleaned any belts and heat shield areas correctly. Don't really want anything like that too close to the exhaust, but it'll be fine sort of in these areas on the engine bay. It dries pretty nicely. I've also lubricated my camera lens quite nicely, so you know, that should last forever as well. Okay, we're back. Cleaned up my mess. And yeah, that's nicely sealed there. Wiped off the bits that, you know, the little drips here and there. That's pretty much ready to go. So I'm just going to fit the manifolds first. The kit from Kline supply it with genuine Porsche fire rings and genuine Porsche head to manifold gaskets, which are a multi-layer steel gasket. And I've just bolted this up just to check. One of the things that I always do actually, which is worth mentioning, is I always straight edge against a manifold flange. I've had it before with manifolds on all sorts of cars, where a tiny little bit of warping in the flange after welding can cause you absolute mayhem afterwards with sort of gas blowing out, exhaust gas blowing out, and will never seal unless it's flat. So they have to be linished afterwards. These have been linished perfectly. They're absolutely magic. But yeah, I've just bolted up the gasket just to check what we're looking at. It's going to be very hard for you to see. If I just press my glove, maybe just ever so slightly up against there, there's just like a 0.5 mm overlap of that gasket there, which is fine, but all I'm going to do is just quickly use our wuzzer and quickly get rid of that overlap there. Right, so that's ready to go on now. Well, obviously I've got to take the bolts out to do it. I'm just going to install my new lambdas, world's most expensive lambda sensors. And I figured it's probably pointless, but I'm going to use a little bit of this optimal TA paste on there, which is what you use on the center locks. It's supposed to be very good for high temperature. Probably nowhere near good enough for the type of temperature that these things will see, but you know, if there's a small chance they stop them from seizing, I'm going to give it a go. I've just removed the this plastic cap from the lambda sensor, and it looks like it's already got that exact paste on it, or maybe something very similar. But yeah, great minds. And that's the titanium studs installed. Okay, I'm just prepping the side silencers here, and I've had to transfer over. And I've had to transfer over the metal fireproof bushes for the brackets. So to get those out of the standard ones. Obviously, it goes without saying that the nut was seized, completely rounded, required fire, required more grips, and now the bolt itself I'm having to retap and use a new nut on the end. Standard practice. The same then. That pokes out a bit far. And unlike the standard one, this is not a bolt-on tip. It's the main center section. Thought required. Yeah, there definitely does seem to be a difference between 991 and 997 GT3. Yeah, it's 5:30 on a Saturday. Requires some more thought. It's definitely the type of thought that needs a beer and a quick email to Kline to see whether they know what's going on. But yeah, hopefully you'll join me back here shortly with some good news. For me, it'll be Monday. Monday, no go. It's the wrong bit basically. 991 and 997 GT3s use a different center section, or more specifically, if it's an aftermarket exhaust like this where it's made in one piece, it's different. Perhaps the actual silencer box of a standard one itself is identical between 991 and 997 GT3s, and the tips are different. giving you a different amount of extension. But you know, so we've just had to put it back together a little bit.
Enough to move.
Yeah, just enough to move. So you know, lovely panel gaps there, and we just thought we'd film the cold start because it's going to smoke and be fun. I forgot to say, we're not just plonking it back together and pushing it out of the way and forgetting about it. Kline are very kindly making me a new centre section, new 997 GT3 specific centre box for this car to get it back up and running. They're rushing it through. Hopefully it shouldn't be too long, but yeah, we just can't have the two-post ramp tied up whilst we've got other projects on the go, so we're just going to put it somewhere else for, you know, a week or so. Okay, cold start. It's going to smoke like shit because everything's covered in oil, including on the inside of the exhaust.
And Porsche.
And it's Porsche, yeah, they always smoke on startup anyway. Yeah, I think I've seen enough.
I think you haven't seen the joy of Porsche. There we go, look. Yummy.
Porsche, yeah. To be fair, it's probably all of the stuff I've sprayed on it, rather than that.
Whatever.
I forgot to say the valves aren't connected, so on idle it's too loud basically. It'll be slightly quieter than this. But yeah, it should sound pretty fruity when you rev it.
Well, that went off the scale.
Yep. And just like that, 5 weeks later.
Very short when you started, weren't you?
I think it was, wasn't I? I think it probably was.
Yeah.
Shorts and t-shirt is definitely not. Look,
No, I've got
thermals.
the for the first time. It's
Thermal overalls.
actually cold today.
Yeah. So yeah, just like that, Kline have very kindly sent a replacement centre section, which is for a 997 GT3 specifically, hopefully. Even though this appeared to protrude about 8 centimetres, and this only appears to be about 2 centimetres shorter, so I think it's still going to stick out a fair bit, but I guess, you know, that's the way it's designed, that's what's going on. So yeah, Jay and I are just having a go at doing this now, getting this tied up so I can actually drive the thing again. It's been too long, and I'm really looking forward to the noise. There you go. That's how much shorter it is. So it's a bit, let's just get the tape measure. It's a bit over 2 centimetres, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a bit. I mean, I don't know.
Which is negligible, really, but...
Is it going to please your eye?
Well, if it doesn't, I'll just cut it off and make my own. So yeah, it's nearly 2.5. Yeah. Nearly 2.5 centimetres shorter, so... Yeah, happy days. We'll just get it on, and if I don't like it, I'll chop it up.
I'll chop the end right off.
I finished being fussy about placement in the bumper.
For now.
We're just making sure that everything's done up properly, rather than with a gun. So, last time I started this was everything loose with the wrong centre section on it. We've got the valves plugged in now, so hopefully it will start up, it will be quite noisy, but then quieten down quite quickly. And then I'll be able to make it noisy on the button, or just drive it with, you know, lower RPM being not too rowdy, and then upper RPM open. That's the plan anyway. Yes, bring the ramp down a bit, I guess. Okay. Chianti.
Wow, the sport button sounds like you chopped the exhaust off.
Yeah, I think I might delete the sport button. Because, yeah, you don't need that in your life. Sounds awesome, man.
Yeah, it's cool.
And it still does stick out a bit too far, but you know.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
It's changing colour already.
Is it?
I think so. Well, unless it's just the light now.
It might be.
Oh, it's the number plate lights are on, isn't it? Sorry.
And your colourblindness.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that still sticks out a bit too far, personally.
Well, how
but
far
you know.
would you like it to stick out like a centimetre?
Yeah, like flush almost. Yeah. But, you know, I can just let that annoy me for the rest of the time at least.
For a bit, yeah.
A couple of weeks. Get some driving done and yeah, maybe revisit it. But yeah, but for now, I should probably just go for a drive. See what it sounds like.
Take it home.
Yeah. Two weeks of daily driving, that, awesome, absolutely love it. The sound of it is just, for me, perfect. Incredibly well balanced, below 4,000 RPM where the valve stays shut, I think it's absolutely perfect. And then gets super rowdy above that, exactly as you'd like really. Yeah, very, very pleased with it. I can't thank Kline enough for kind of coming to my rescue a little bit with the centre box issue that we had. As usual, I'm really happy with their service. Absolutely fantastic bunch of people making great products. So yeah, check those guys out. Yeah, 2 weeks of listening to it, absolutely perfect. 2 weeks of looking at the tips. Not so perfect, not for my eyes anyway. I know I'm super, super particular about many things, but to me, they poke out too far, the tips do. They should kind of, in my opinion, be just about, sort of not recessed, but just poking out sort of maybe, I don't know, maximum 10 mil from this plastic trim panel here. So that means I'm likely to get very choppy with it at some point. I am going to take an angle grinder to my super expensive Inconel exhaust. I have some Inconel welding rods, very kindly supplied by Walton Motorsport. They've done a bit of Inconel exhaust work before, so they've kindly supplied the kit that we need for that. I'm not going to do it for a few weeks, so don't expect a video anytime soon. It's not that important, but yeah, it does bother me enough to take an angle grinder to it and make it how I want it. So that's probably about it for this episode. If you're still with us, thanks very much for watching all this way. Quite a long video, I imagine. As always, my personal Instagram is Phil Morrison DW. We've got @Driftworks as well. Also, check out the shop. We've got a load of new merch in the shop, in the web shop at the moment. Starkey will always bug me to remind you of that, and I always forget, so there you go. And yeah, that's probably about it. Thanks very much for watching. We'll see you next time.
At Driftworks, we've helped over 50,000 happy customers since 2004. Our huge online parts store is simple to use, with superb shipping rates to anywhere in the world, and finance options available for UK customers. We live and breathe wheel fitment, so if you have any questions about your own car or any of our products before placing an order, please drop us an email at shop@driftworks.com or give us a call. Thanks for watching.